In the snow-blanketed stillness of northern Montana, a rustic cabin stood tucked beneath a crown of towering pines. Inside lived Eli Foster, a reclusive woodsman known only by the whispers that traveled through nearby towns, if spoken of at all. He was tall, rugged, and quiet, with a beard like bramble and eyes that held the memory of something lost. Years ago, his wife and daughter had died in a car crash during a snowstorm, not unlike the ones that now surrounded his home each winter. Eli had retreated ever since, both physically and emotionally. His days passed in repetition, chopping firewood, repairing his tools, sipping stale coffee by the fire. His only companion was silence, that is, until the knock came. It was late January. The wind howled like a wounded animal, and the snow fell sideways, thick and blinding. Eli, seated beside the fireplace, a half-read book in his lap, blinked. At first, he thought the knock was a trick of the wind. Then it came again, a deliberate, desperate knock. Cautiously, Eli opened the heavy wooden door. A woman stood there, soaked and shivering, holding the hand of a little boy. Behind her were two more children, teeth chattering, eyes wide with fear. Her voice cracked through the storm. "Please, our car broke down. We've nowhere to go." Eli hesitated, heart pounding. He hadn't spoken to anyone in weeks, but something old and buried flickered inside him, an instinct not entirely gone. Without a word, he stepped aside. The warmth of the cabin met their frozen skin like a promise. Eli fetched blankets, lit the stove higher, and brewed what little tea he had left. They didn't speak much that first night, just shared warmth and silence. Her name was Maria. The children were Lily, Sam, and Jonah. They'd been traveling from Seattle, hoping to restart their lives in Minneapolis, when the blizzard stranded them on a remote highway. "The storm came in so fast," she said. "We didn't know where else to go." Eli nodded, but didn't speak. His voice, once strong and warm, had grown rusty with disuse. But he listened, and somehow that was enough. Days passed, then a week. The storm lingered, blocking roads and trapping them in the cabin. But Eli didn't mind. Surprisingly, he found comfort in the noise of little feet, in the sounds of laughter echoing off his walls. He showed the boys how to set rabbit traps, how to tell direction from the moss on trees. Little Lily climbed onto his lap one night with a book and said, "You look like Santa," giggling as she poked his beard. Maria started cooking, real meals. Not soup from a can, but stew, cornbread, and even pie. The smell filled Eli's cabin with warmth he hadn't felt in years. In return, Eli chopped firewood, fixed the family's boots, and built a snow sled for the kids from leftover planks. Slowly, the rhythm of his solitary life began to change. Then came a surprise. One afternoon, while Eli was whittling near the fire, a black SUV pulled up to the edge of the woods. A tall man stepped out, clean-shaven, with a strong military gait, and the American flag patch on his shoulder. Eli tensed. Visitors weren't common, especially not federal-looking ones. The man knocked. This time, Eli opened the door with less suspicion. "Captain Jack Miller," the man said, offering a hand. "U.S. Army, retired. I'm searching for my sister, Maria." Maria rushed to the door. "Jack!" They embraced. Jack looked over her shoulder at Eli, his eyes sharp but not unkind. "I tracked your emergency call. Took days to reach here. I didn't expect this." Eli, unsure of what to say, simply nodded. Later that night, Jack sat beside the fire, sharing stories of his deployments. He had retired from active duty the year before and settled in Bozeman. When he'd heard his sister was missing in a snowstorm, he'd driven straight through the night. "You live here year-round?" Jack asked Eli. Eli nodded. "Since 2007. Looked around. It's peaceful, but lonely. Eli gave a soft chuckle. I used to think that was the point. Jack's eyes flicked to the children, now dozing in a pile of blankets. Doesn't seem so lonely anymore. Maria spoke softly. He saved us. No, Eli said, voice rough. You saved me. The storm eventually lifted, but the family didn't leave right away. Jack stayed a few days to help dig out the car, then sat Eli down on the last evening. I know your story, Jack said carefully. Maria told me about your daughter, your wife, what you lost. Eli said nothing, staring into the fire. I lost men in combat, Jack continued. Good men, brothers. Thought I'd never connect with anyone again. But people like us, we're not broken, just buried. He placed a hand on Eli's shoulder. You're family now. You may not wear the uniform, but you served in your own way, and you're still needed. Eli nodded, unsure what to say. When Jack finally left, Maria and the kids stayed. Days turned to weeks, and slowly spring came. Green returned to the trees, the stream thawed, and the sound of children playing rang louder than any bird song. One day, Eli walked into the kitchen and found a piece of mail on the table, a school registration form for Sam. Maria had written Eli's name in the Guardian section. He stared at it for a long time. Then, with a steady hand, he signed his name beside hers. The cabin became something new. There were muddy boots by the door, crayon drawings on the fridge, bread baking in the oven. Lily braided Eli's beard with little blue ribbons, and he didn't even protest. Jonah learned to build birdhouses. Sam wrote poems about the trees. Eli, once a ghost in his own home, now sat at the table each night laughing over dinner, his eyes lit not by firelight but by the life around him. On the first anniversary of their arrival, Jack visited again, this time with gifts. Sleeping bags, jackets, and a carved wooden plaque that read, Foster Family Cabin. That night, they had a small bonfire outside, where Jack leaned over and said, You've changed, Eli. You found your mission. Eli looked at the family beside him, and this time he didn't look away. They found me, he said quietly, and it was true. 1 year later, Eli stood in front of a small, simple schoolhouse near Bozeman. Sam held his hand tightly, backpack slung over one shoulder. Are you scared? Eli asked. Sam nodded. I am too, Eli admitted. Sam blinked. But you're not scared of anything. Eli knelt down. I used to be scared of living, of feeling. But then your mom knocked on my door. He paused. And now I don't want to go back. Sam smiled, then ran inside. Eli watched until the door closed behind him. Maria came up beside him, slipping her hand into his. Thank you, she whispered. Eli turned to her. Thank you for knocking. In that moment, with the hum of children's laughter in the air and the mountains behind them, Eli realized something profound. The door he once kept shut to the world had brought him back to it. He hadn't just survived the storm. He had been reborn by it.